You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show on the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. I'm Kevin Wade. It is a Monday, 10th of April in the year of our Lord 2017. As always on Mondays, I'm glad to be co-hosting with none other than our program's founder and, in fact, inspiration, Rick Trader.
Kevin, great to be with you again, and let our listeners know out there that we are doing an experiment today. We are actually broadcasting our show live on Facebook, and to see that, go to Conservative Commandos Radio Show Facebook group page, and there Kevin and I will be.
And listeners, since this is an experiment, please wear your rubber gloves and have goggles, because you just don't know what might happen next.
You just never know. You just never know.
Hey, Rick, we have a great day in the Mid-Atlantic. It's
a beautiful day.
It's near 80 degrees, bright sunshine. I had my manly duty of dragging the lawnmower out of its resting place for the winter.
It's out of hibernation.
Getting fresh gasoline. That's the secret. Pour fresh gasoline into an empty tank. And you know what? One crank, one pull on that rope, and up it was running.
Well, I see, Kevin, if you take care of it at the end of the season, okay, in other words, drain all the gas out. And if you start the beginning of the season right with fresh gas, voila, there's your results. And take care of things, they work.
I felt like John Wayne or Gary Cooper cutting that grass. I mean, I was just strutting my manly stuff, pushing that lawnmower around, and me and Mr. Lawn will have probably 15 more meetings on a Saturday afternoon if the weather's good between now and early October. How about you?
Well, the one luxury that Mary, my dear bride, affords to me, and that is we do hire a lawn service. So I'll cut it the first couple of times in the spring. But when it was hot June, July, August, days of 90 and 95 with 90% humidity, she don't want me out there cutting the grass. Thank you, my bride. And so we do have a lawn service.
Well, I'm not one of the media elite, okay?
Well, I am not either.
That separates me from those with lawn services. I'm my own lawn service. I'm Mr. Lawn Service.
Well, you know, Kevin, I've seen your lawn.
Would John Wayne use a lawn service? No, he'd pull that cord. He'd push that lawnmower.
Kevin, I've seen your lawn. I've seen your lawn, and it would probably fit on the top of that table. It's not a really big lawn, ladies and gentlemen. My good friend lives in what could be described as a townhouse.
You didn't have to go there.
Listen, I've got our property. I have my dear mother-in-law's property, and it's probably 300 feet by 150 feet. There is a lot of cutting and edging.
300 by 100, that's my whole block is
there
that
you
size.
Go. This is exactly what I'm saying.
But I'm cutting colonial grass. Okay?
It is colonial grass, and for anyone who is in the Delaware Valley, in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, beautiful little town, Old Newcastle, it is like going back 200-300 years in time. It is what you would imagine Colonial Williamsburg would look like. It's one of those little pearls.
It really is a gem. And in fact, it takes me longer to actually pull the lawnmower out than it does to cut the yard. But nevertheless, I mean, I've got some kinship with the Duke and every other man in North America in the summertime. It might be small. It might be small, Rick, but it's all mine.
I'm not saying anything negative about it. It's just when you get on my case, the fact that we have a lawn service and that John Wayne would cut his own lawn, I just wanted to let our listeners know exactly what you were talking about. That's all, Kevin.
Hey, I'll tell you, we've had a lot of news since last week. Last week, the talk was on the liberal side, which is kind of like stammering and jammering. On the liberal side, it was like all these connections between Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin and the Trump campaign, quote unquote. That seems to have evaporated. I don't know what Rachel Maddow was talking about at MSNBC these days after President Trump, President number 45, took swift and certain action against an air base that was the nest from which flew a Syrian jet that dropped poison gas on civilians in a nearby city. That's against the rules, so to speak. I mean, there's a lot of ugliness in war, but using poison gas is something that anyone who thinks twice about it gave up doing back 100 years ago in World War I. It was just too horrible of a way to die.
Indeed. In fact, when you look at the world and how complicated it is, the one thing that the nations of the world have done, except for a few, has agreed not to use these terrible chemical weapons. And you know what, Kevin? Here we finally have a president who backs up what he says. He said he wouldn't tolerate it. They used chemical weapons, and he bombed them. All Barack Obama would have done is retreat from another line in the sand, and you know it.
Well, I know. He'd cancel their Netflix membership and tell them they're bad boys and they won't be allowed in the faculty lounge until at least after the weekend. But we have a guy who's prone to action now. Now, there is a question. I support his actions. I support his actions last week. I think most Americans do.
I agree.
But I don't know that I'm into a major land offensive in Syria unless he goes before the American people through their representatives in Congress and gets a resolution passed. I think that no president, Republican or Democrat, gets to conduct his private wars. So it needs to, as I see, go before the American people in the Congress and let Congress, Republican and Democrat, stand up and be counted if he wants to take it that far. I believe that his intent that was expressed again and again and again to the American people, and this was a decision point that drove voters one way or the other, his intent to destroy ISIS, I think he already has sanction to do that with the war on terror, and I think he has sanction from the American people by his election. But destroying ISIS is different than occupying Syria. We have no interest in Syria. Syria has nothing to offer us except misery. Kevin, that's my take on it at the moment.
Kevin, what really concerns me about Syria is going in and pulling off in Syria what we pulled off in places like Iraq, in Libya, is when you have a dictator like a Bashar Assad, anybody that has any kind of leadership ability, he either imprisons them or executes them. So therefore, if you get rid of Assad, who is the next leader of that country? When we got rid of Saddam Hussein, the following leaderships in that country has proven how weak the leadership is. When you create this vacuum of leadership, who's going to run the government? Who's going to run the country? And it's, unfortunately, you don't have a lot of good choices. And that's what I'm afraid of if we get rid of Bashar Assad. I say bomb him back into the Stone Age, put him into a situation where, like Ronald Reagan put Omar Gaddafi, control him and hope for the best.
Well, you mentioned Omar Gaddafi, and I think that's a pretty good example of how to handle Omar Gaddafi. was responsible. I think it's widely accepted he was responsible for attacks in Europe, primarily at nightclubs, that killed American servicemen. And he was resistant to modifying his ways. And Ronald W. Reagan sent him a message by sending F-104s in to bomb several of his compounds. There was no follow-up attempt to invade the country or to depose him. But he received a very, very strong message. I think it was like 1985, 1986.
86. March of 86.
That was the last you heard of Muammar Gaddafi killing Americans or challenging the American government. And if you take a look at what happened when he was removed under the Obama-Clinton regime, you see that removed the cork from a bottle that allowed this massive migration north out of North Africa and Central Africa into the nearest place in Europe, which happens to be the southern tip of Italy.
Yep.
And, you pulled the plug out. And no. There's a limit. There is a balance and there's a proportion. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia. And around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98, Talk iHeartRadio, AM/FM 24/7, LNN.com. You stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamb-Manier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Manier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We, the people, never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, please refer to our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or at 11 a.m., log on to Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. It is Monday. Kevin Wade, as I mentioned, is my co-host. And Kevin, this is the time of the day, and at this day during the week, you always have a commentary for us.
Well, today's commentary is a little bit of a free-range thinking. Last week at this time, the mainstream media, which in fact is the senior partner of the Democrat Party in shaping public opinion, the mainstream media was all aflutter with their alleged connections between the Kremlin and Donald J. Trump's election campaign in 2016. We had already had news of Susan Rice's involvement with accessing information that was collected by our intelligence services in connection with their monitoring of, well, conversations and communications, some of which included, as you might expect, people associated with the Trump campaign. Being involved with a business person in Russia when you routinely do business throughout the world or around the world or throughout Europe is not entirely surprising, but the mainstream media wanted to paint it as something very dark and sinister. They felt that there was some tacit understanding between Vladimir Putin and the Kremlin and Donald J. Trump, a potential incoming president during the election. All that has disappeared following President Trump's 59 Tomahawk missile attack against an airbase in Syria. Directly a slap in the face of Vladimir Putin and his client, Assad, in Syria. This doesn't at all fit their meandering delusions about collaboration, and it is clearly at odds with the go easy, go gently, go slow approach of Barack Obama, which yielded so few fruit for peace in that region or security at home. So they now have, the liberal media and their junior partner, the Democrat Party, now have to come up with some new spin to put on the circumstances leading up to Hillary Clinton's defeat on November 8th, as announced about 2 a.m. in the morning of November 9th. What that spin might be, I do not know. But at this point, they can't go back to the well and talk any further about collaboration or coordination or cooperation between the Trump campaign and the folks in the Kremlin. It just ain't so, Joe. And you know, they're at a loss. The liberal media is at a loss for the fact that some people from Syria are highly complimentary to President Trump's decisive action. So we have a kind of a new tipping point in political discussion right now, and that is we now have a strong president, and the question is what will he do next and how will the world react? I prefer having us hold the hammer in the world. I prefer the hammer not be used too often, but I prefer that we hold the hammer, and that's a pleasant change, and I think we're all a little bit more secure, and that's the way I see it. I'm Kevin Wade, and that's what I have to say today.
Kevin, where do you take of the fact that this attack took place while Trump was entertaining the Prime Minister of China? I think it sends a message there, too.
Yeah, I think it sends a message to China that he's willing to act independently in defense of our interests or our values. Using poison gas against innocent civilians or even not so innocent civilians is something that the civilized world cannot allow to take place. President Obama, Susan Rice, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry all assured us that via their soft diplomacy, their smart use of smart power, that Syria had been removed of their chemical weapons, but surely that wasn't true. That wasn't true.
No,
all the
not
evidence is in videos.
Kevin, I'll also make the argument that these chemical weapons that Syria is using are the chemical weapons that Saddam Hussein had that mysteriously disappeared.
You'll only find that out by finding someone in Iraq who has connections with someone in Syria, and they could be long gone or long silented by the repercussions of being honest about that. We just don't know, but we do know that Syria didn't have their chemical weapons removed, and we do know that they used them against civilians. And that touch, I mean, there is an element of great human warmth and compassion, in Donald Trump. He certainly uses a whip against those who are arrogant and in power, who criticize him and his beliefs. But in fact, when it's looking out for the little guy, he truly is a guy of great compassion. And I think that was much of what prompted him to launch those 59 Tomahawk missiles.
Kevin, in the 2 minutes we have left before break, who are our guests today?
Well, our guests today are, bear with me a second. We have Craig Bannister coming in at 3:30. He's 3:35 actually. He's editor-in-chief of mrctv.org, a multimedia blog blending hard-hitting and topical news and original videos. And he's a frequent guest here, and I'm glad he is, and I'm glad he's coming back. He's going to be talking about our coordinating, or maybe even doing some teaching to the Europeans about how to secure their borders. And then at 4:05, we have Maureen Ferguson coming in, and she is going to talk about how delighted she is that Donald Trump kept his word in terms of appointing someone who stands firmly for life as the Supreme Court justice, and who Neil Gorsuch just took his oath today. He now is a Supreme Court Associate Justice.
A great day in America, Kevin. A truly great day in America.
And I believe that he earned my vote right there. I don't know what else happens about the wall or the economy.
Yep.
But considering what we have been getting as conservatives from leadership in Washington over the past, let me call it 20 years.
Right.
Okay. We have a judge who is beyond question a strict constitutionalist. He reads the law and applies it. That means if the law, quote unquote, leans liberal, he's going to give a liberal ruling, but he's going to read the law and apply it, not make it up as he goes, and he's going to be on the bench, God willing, for another 20 years. And with the removal of the filibuster, okay, by Mitch McConnell, who's finally earned his paycheck in my view. Finally. With the removal of the filibuster, Donald Trump could nominate Cousin It from the Addams Family and get him confirmed, because there was interest in trying to bring over some bipartisan support and trying to find someone of unparalleled qualifications such that any reasonable senator could not object.
Yeah, well,
they
Kevin,
tried that with Gorsuch and they didn't get enough support.
Well, when you talk about the support, Gorsuch, when he was appointed to the bar, to the federal judgeship, he received 100% vote in Congress.
Yep.
So it really shows you who the obstructionists are. Want to take us to break?
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. We're broadcasting live from our flagship station in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet, WNJC 1360 AM. And you'll hear us at American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. You stay with us. We will be back with our very first guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade, and I'm Rick Trader, and we're coming to you live from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. And we're also simulcasting on radio stations in Tampa, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Boulder, Colorado, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California. We are everywhere. We are everywhere. And Kevin, we live in a world of live radio. We do a live show. There was a mistake. I believe it was my mistake. I'll take the blame for it. That Craig Bannister was scheduled for 4:30. Originally, I messed up. I put it on our schedule for 3:30. So we will make an effort to have Craig Bannister from MRC TV on later in the week.
Well, okay, it's April 10th, and we finally have our first mistake of the year. I'm glad to get it out of the way. That means we'll have smooth sailing through at least December 31.
Yes. At least through December 31. Promise, no more mistakes, no more mistakes.
ZeroHedge.com, which sometimes is right and sometimes is wrong, is reporting that about 150,000 Chinese troops are gathering on the North Korean border as a hedge for contingencies. We know right now, because it's been widely reported, that a big part of the United States U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet is gathering and heading toward the Northwest Pacific. Now, unless there's problems with the Western Aleutian Islands, I would suspect they're not heading toward the Aleutian Islands, but they're heading toward the peninsula of Korea. So stay tuned, hang on to your hats. And remember, duck cover, and what was it? When we were coming up, duck cover, you get under a desk and you cover. Yeah, okay. So,
well, Kevin, like I said, right after your commentary, I wonder, Donald Trump attacked the Syrian air base while he was entertaining the Prime Minister of China. I wonder what... I believe that has to send some sort of a message to the Chinese that there's a new sheriff in town. This guy's not going to draw a line in the sand and back away from it. When this guy draws a line in the sand and you cross that line, you're in for a world of hurt.
Now, let me be the devil's advocate, because it's never easy, is it? It's never easy. If I were an opponent of the United States of America, if I were an opponent who wanted to stymie President Trump and the American people, I would recognize that right now on April 10th, with Donald Trump only being in office for about 70 days, that our military remains depleted, that we still have 30% of our aircraft in the Air Force and the Navy and the U.S. Marine Corps that are unable to fly for lack of parts and lack of technicians to use those parts. I would say that on April 10th, 2017, the U.S. Navy, in terms of its number of ships and their capabilities, is far less than it will be in 4 years. I would say that the United States Army and the Marine Corps have been run down over the past 8 years.
Yep.
Hence, if I were going to act, this is as good as it gets. So keep that in mind. These could be very, very tenuous days if you're an opponent of the United States of America, because the getting is as good as it's going to get under President Trump. 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, they'll be looking at a different economy and a different U.S. military supported by that economy.
Well, even with our military as down as it is right now, Kevin, it's a bee with one hell of a sting.
It's a bee with one hell of a sting, but well, I won't tell the Chinese and the Russians what they are. But they know. They already know this. We can't sting 3 or 4 places at once. We can't sting 3 or 4 places at once. There was a time back in, call it 75, 1980, where this American military was capable of fighting 2 major World War II campaigns on 2 different continents and have enough left over for a little insurgency in Nicaragua. That's not the military we have today. We have a smarter military, we have better weapons, and we have more professional leadership. But it is much smaller, and you can't be 2 places at once.
Indeed you can.
But I think the fact that raid, the launch of the 59 Tomahawk missiles, while President Trump was having dinner with President Xi at his little country rustic home along the beach, I think gives an indication that the Chinese president had already been informed and basically said that doesn't interest us at all. That's what I think, because typically you wouldn't take an action that might insult a guest while they're in your own home. So I think there was some understanding before the dinner. It may have only happened at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It may have happened via cables the week earlier. But clearly, if this report going to the Pacific from ZeroHedge.com is accurate, 150,000 Red Chinese troops have assembled along the Korean border. That's North Korea. And that's not by accident either. So they're thinking something might be up. Now, the dictator who heads North Korea, and there is this ancient expression that's always true: power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That North Korean leader doesn't exist in the world of doesn't live in the world of reality, and he cannot withstand the American military. He certainly can't withstand the American military and South Korean military combined, nor if you add China in the mix. But he can do a lot of damage before it's ended.
Well, let's speculate here. Why would China put 150,000 troops on the Korean border? Is it to prevent Koreans from crossing the border into China? Is it a hedge against the United States of America sending an aircraft battle group there? What is your speculation of why China is making this move?
My guess is it's to prevent millions of North Koreans fleeing into China. That's the first guess. Second guess is, should the leader of North Korea come to an untimely end, or perhaps a timely end, as you might qualify it, in the very few next coming weeks, China might want to be there to kind of maintain stability by sending some troops in to maintain order and to ensure a communist government in the North. Frankly, I don't care about a communist government in the North. I care about any government that's developing nuclear weapons and launching missiles toward Japan and further. So,
well, one thing that North Korea has spent its money on is in building up its own military. It's got a very large army in and of itself.
That's the only thing it has. I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's what I'm saying.
people.
That's where it's spending. People are starving, but they've spent their money to build up their military. And
they've also trafficked. I think it's fair to say this: they've trafficked they've sold their know-how to the few kindred spirits of chaos around the world who share some of their views toward America,
like Iran.
So I believe that this Dr. A.Q. Khan in Pakistan, who was the father of Pakistan's nuclear weapons program, I believe he sold his know-how to North Korea. I believe North Korea is trading their missile technology and missile know-how to others. I think they're part of that inner circle and bad folks, really bad hombres, as President Trump would say. And the world will not miss a change in leadership in North Korea. However, it is fraught with danger. It is fraught because they will not react as rational people will. And Seoul, Korea, which is the capital of southern Korea is within artillery range of thousands of tubes controlled by the North Korean Army. We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station, and around the world on the Internet. In addition, we're broadcasting from FM 92.1 in Tampa, Florida, FM 99.5 Las Vegas, Nevada, FM 87.9 Macon, Georgia, FM 102.1 Lancaster, PA, and a whole bunch of other places. If you're not listening in real time but time shifted, hey, thanks for being with us anyway. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos. We'll be right back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the Internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty Health Share as a sponsor. Liberty Health Share is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty Health Share exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty Health Share. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamanier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Manier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We the people never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Thank you, Colonel West. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show and the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com, or at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com. And, of course, you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone, anywhere, by simply calling 832-999-1199. Rick, it's a Monday. It's a new world. We have Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court, and he's a solid conservative. I hope he doesn't lose his conservative, the conservative starch in his trousers over the next 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I don't see Neil Gorsuch losing the starch in his trousers. I think he is, what you see is what you get. I think he's going to be a solid conservative on the court. The next choice, the next Donald Trump choice for Supreme Court will be interesting. I haven't even heard, too early to speculate. Nobody's announced that they're retiring Kennedy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There's a lot of speculation, but
it's believed. Now, of course, you get this from the mainstream press, so you have to take it with, not a grain of salt, but like a 50-pound bag. It's believed that maybe Anthony Kennedy wants to enjoy some of his sunset years, not tied up in Washington traffic, and he was considered a solid conservative when he was
picked by Reagan,
when he was nominated by President Reagan. In fact, I may have said this on the air. A good friend of mine, was actually part of the delegation of friends and acquaintances and colleagues who went to his house, knock on the door to say, would you receive a nomination to the Supreme Court from President Reagan? And they all knew one another. It was out in California, the golden state of California, when it was still kind of a golden state. It's different now. And he was, Anthony Kennedy, or as he's known to my friend Tony Kennedy, was considered a rock-ribbed, permanent conservative. But something happens. I think there's something in the water. I would like the EPA, before it fully disbands, to check what's in the water. Now, back when I used to play high school sports 900 years ago, and you'd be at summer camp, away from everybody, there was a legend about saltpeter in the water. But I won't go into that.
Kevin, it's
you guys listening know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's a family show.
I said that reaction was just the stress of excess workouts twice a day. Well, there might be something in the water in the Potomac.
Yeah,
that's my point.
The air, the water, right over. Kennedy is 80. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 83. My gosh, I don't know why they wouldn't want to retire and, as you say, enjoy some of the sunset before the good old sun comes down on their life.
Hey, I want to thank all of our viewers who typically listen at ccrsshow.com, who are with us at Facebook Live right now watching.
There it is.
Wave to you. Hey, thanks for watching.
Facebook Live. We know Mary Brockman's there. God bless, love Mary Brockman.
God bless Mary. And so if you're listening right now and you'd like to see, well, first of all, steady yourself if you want to see us in person. Steady. If you've eaten recently, you might want to hold off and just listen. But if you'd like to see what it looks like in the studio of Conservative Commandos, go to the Conservative Commandos Facebook page and then go to Facebook Live, and there we are. We are. You might even catch a glimpse of Mateo, the one with talent. The one with talent in the studio right now.
The one with hair. That's why we're...
Can we talk a little... I want to talk about my friend Mateo.
Yes.
I want to talk
Can
about
we bring him into the... Mateo, why don't you grab a live mic over on your side?
Grab a live mic. Now Mateo is a student. Okay, he's a student. He's studying at a local university, and he's working really hard. He's, taking on the challenge of left-handed liberal loony professors. But he's received, and I won't mention the name of the network, but he's received a summer position, at a major and important, prominent network affiliate here in this marketplace. And you know what the marketplace is. I will not mention it because I don't want to ruin his chances.
Somewhere on the wall. We won't mention his chances, but it's somewhere.
But he's going to be there through the summer as an intern. And there is the picture of youthful conservatism right here.
Well, he's not in our picture.
Well, he's not here, but trust me, viewers, the picture of youthful conservatism.
No, it isn't. Make sure it is. The little switch on the side is on.
And right now we're having a problem with the microphone, but my concern is, like if you've ever seen like the movie The Summer of 42, there was a young guy got caught up in a circumstance and it changed him forever. Well, I don't want to see Mateo come back in September, okay? Talking like Bernie Sanders. That's my concern, that his soul will, if not sold to the devil, will be loaned to the devil for a while.
Kevin, I've been at university for 3 years. It would have happened by now if I was soft and flaky, okay? It's not going to happen.
Kevin, Mateo, is there any way you can bring that mic on over here
Let's see.
We can see it? Because there you go.
I want to show off.
Try to get Mateo into the shot.
There he is.
I want to show off my shirt in commemoration of our new Supreme Court Justice.
Yes.
There he is.
I have confirmed Gorsuch.
Yes.
Now, to our viewers, this is what a good conservative looks like in his prime, okay?
Got to get close to the microphone.
We're going to have him on camera in September, and you can do the before and after. You can do the before and after.
There won't be any difference, let me tell you.
Mateo has a great
Mateo,
future.
why don't you pull up a chair and sit on that end?
All right.
Mateo has a great future.
Kevin, you might want to stretch that microphone a little closer to you, too.
Mateo has a great future because he has talent as well as purpose and principles, and really a sweetheart of a sweetheart too. I mean, lucky guy. But Facebook Live, it's Conservative Commandos Facebook Live. Go to Conservative Commandos at the website that you go to hear the show when it's live.
The Conservative Commandos radio show Facebook group page.
Now, for let me ask the Brain Trust here. What are we doing for the delayed broadcast? Do they have any chance of?
Oh yeah. Well, once this is not done live,
okay.
Once we shut off the live stream, it will be archived, so people can come by later and watch and listen.
So if you're listening now and it's if it's dark outside, that means you're on a delayed broadcast. But right now it's 3:56 on the Mid-Atlantic.
Well, we don't
on
have
the 10th
any,
of April.
We only have that big window over there that we can see that looks out over the beautiful Delaware River.
I can see George crossing right now. He's in the lead boat. This way, George. Point this way. You're coming toward Jersey. But this is an historic part of the country, and this is as good as it gets weather-wise.
This is a perfect day. It's like 78, 79 degrees.
Perfect. No humidity, no mosquitoes, no thunderstorms.
No clouds. It's just a beautiful day. It's all that's there. It's just a beautiful day.
And I'll tell you, we missed our guest at 3:30. Craig Bannister will come back. He's a regular guest. It was just an honest mix-up. I think it's part of that disinformation that the NSA is planting in the media these days.
It was my mistake. When I sent out the media request, I sent out the media request for 4:35. I wrote it into my book, request Craig Bannister 3:35. When he responded, he said, Rick, I have an appointment that time. Can we do it later? I said, sure, let's make it 4:35. But I never changed it in my appointment book. My bad. So we could have, if we didn't have another guest at 4:35 already, we could have said, okay, no harm, no foul. But I don't want to be moving two guests around, so we'll just have Craig Bannister from MRC TV, CNS News on later in the week.
We could have brought them both on at the same time, do like a tag team thing. But that could be actually kind of interesting, depending upon how different the two subjects are.
Yeah, I think the subjects are a bit different. So.
Hey, I'll tell you, there's news out of the southern border. Apparently the Rio Grande Valley is unusually quiet. The number of border crossings has plummeted. I mean, this is before Donald Trump has actually amped up and staffed up for the Border Patrol. Just the change in leadership, the change in the tone has made the difference.
Yeah, crossings are down like 50%.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And also another thing, that this catch and release scheme, this crazy catch and release scheme has ended. The border guards are thrilled about that. You know, the catch and release scheme, Kevin, was a sham. That
not only is it a sham, but it'll be a sham that you wrap in 15 seconds.
Well, then I won't. I'll let you go for it. You take us to break.
We can pick it up later. Hey, thanks for being with us on Facebook Live and listening on Conservative Commandos. We're broadcasting from WNJC 1360 AM in Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet, as well as a simulcast on radio stations AM 1360 Tampa, Florida, AM 810 Macon, Georgia, AM 1640 Lancaster, PA, FM 94.7 in Pittsburgh, and FM 101.5 Long Beach, California, all the way out there 3 time zones behind. Thanks for being with us. I'm Kevin Wade. Rick Trader's in the house. So is young Mateo. We're going to keep our eyes on him, make sure he doesn't get turned while he's interning this summer. You stay with us. We will be right back.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos radio network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show and the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, ccrsnetwork.com and ccrshow.com at 11 a.m., Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight log on to redstatetalkradio.com. And, of course, as always, you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone anywhere by calling 832-999-1199. And if you're following us on the website, Conservative Commandos Radio, you can also watch us right now because we're broadcasting on Facebook Live for the very first time. And we want to thank all of our loyal listeners who are now loyal viewers. And I'm Kevin, and this is Rick to my left.
Kevin, we do have our first guest of the day with us. Please make the introduction.
My pleasure. As you know, we cover issues of life because it's one of the core values that keeps any community healthy. And Maureen Malloy Ferguson is with us. She's a senior policy advisor for the Catholic Association. She's a frequent speaker and commentator on Catholic issues in the public square, particularly on the pro-life movement, religious freedom, and the family. Maureen's been interviewed by NBC, CNN, Fox, EWTN, PBS, Politico, Washington Post, many others. She's been invited to provide briefings to congressional staff and has participated in news conferences on Capitol Hill. She's also traveled to Rome and had the honor of covering the installation of Pope Francis in 2013. She serves on a school board at Oak Crest School in McLean, Virginia, and is on the candidate selection committee for the Susan B. Anthony list. Previously, Maureen was the congressional liaison and spokesman for the National Right to Life Committee. She's married to former Congressman Mike Ferguson, and she has 5 beautiful kids. And with that, Maureen Malloy Ferguson, welcome to the Conservative Commandos.
Hi there. Great to be on with you today.
Hey, you are the Catholic Association is going to talk today, and I'll let you just pick this thing up and run with it, about President Trump's defunding of the UN's population fund. Walk us through background, where we are now, and what this means to people who are concerned about the sacredness of life.
Sure. This was actually a pretty big deal, but it didn't get a lot of media attention. But last week, President Trump's State Department, under Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, sent a finding to Congress to defund the United Nations Population Fund. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because the United Nations Population Fund participates in China's very coercive and brutal population control program, which sadly utilizes forced abortion, forced sterilization, compulsory techniques to keep their population down. China used to have for many years a one-child policy. They started to see the demographic implications of that and the folly of that, so they liberalized the policy just a tiny bit, if you can call it that. Now there's a two-child policy in China, but a mother still needs to have a birth permit in order to have a child. So if a mother is expecting a third child, she is subject to to very, very heavy, crippling fines. I mean, fines that your average person in China would never be able to pay. And in many regions of the country, the population control kind of police are very brutal, and there are many, many, many instances of forced abortion, forced sterilization, if one does not have one of these quote-unquote birth permits issued by the Chinese government. So, as I was explaining, the United Nations Population Fund has been supporting and participating in China's brutal population control policies.
I don't know that many. I don't, Maureen. I don't know that many of our listeners actually knew that. I think many of us knew about some of the gruesome measures that take place in China to limit their population growth. But I don't know that I or anyone else in the studio, and we generally keep ourselves pretty well informed, knew that the United Nations was helping to pay the bill for this brutality.
That's right. The United Nations, under the Obama administration, has been funded by the U.S. taxpayer, and they, in turn, help the Chinese government implement their program. So now, under previous Republican administrations, the United Nations Population Fund did not receive any taxpayer money from the United States. But under the Obama administration, they started funding them again. So President Trump and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson made the determination that this is actually a violation of U.S. law. There was a law passed many years ago called the Kemp-Kasten Amendment.
Okay.
Everybody remember Jack Kemp from the...
Sure. From Buffalo, up around Buffalo, New York State, I believe.
Right. He was the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, ran for Congress, was a very popular member of Congress, ended up running on the vice presidential ticket. Many of your listeners probably remember Jack Kemp. So when he was in Congress, they passed the Kemp-Kasten Amendment, which says that U.S. taxpayers cannot fund any type of coercive population programs overseas. And the Obama administration was kind of flaunting that law and saying, oh, well, they tried to make it into a gray area and, started giving millions of dollars to the United Nations Population Fund. But President Trump has put a stop to that. He acted very decisively. We are thrilled at the pro-life actions that President Trump has taken. Of course, today we had a huge win for the pro-life movement, seeing Neil Gorsuch sworn in as a new Associate Justice on the Supreme Court. And because of his originalist views of the Constitution, his view that the courts should be interpreting the Constitution and not writing laws as if they're legislators just legislating from the bench according to whatever policy whims they feel like they want to support. Because of that, we feel confident in Judge Gorsuch as now I should be calling him Justice Gorsuch. As of today, he's officially Justice Gorsuch.
Exactly.
We feel very confident that his view of the Constitution will be favorable to life, and not only on the abortion question, but Justice Gorsuch many years ago wrote a book, an entire book on assisted suicide, in which he affirmed the dignity of the human person and the dignity of human life. And it's just a beautiful book that he wrote against physician-assisted suicide. So
Neil Gorsuch?
Today is a great day for people who respect the sanctity of human life.
I want to make sure I've heard, and I want to make sure our listeners have heard, Neil Gorsuch wrote a book about the sanctity of life and condemning the shenanigans associated with advancing assisted suicide?
Yes, he did. And
that's remarkable. What a blessing. What a blessing.
Such a blessing. I mean, it's a real mercy from God that we have this man to replace the late, great Justice Antonin Scalia. But this is a really important issue because assisted suicide is a growing movement. It's popping up in states all over the country. It's now legal in several states. In my own hometown of Washington, D.C., they have just legalized physician-assisted suicide. which is a tragedy of epic proportions in a city like Washington that has so many poor people. It is the poor and the disabled, who are going to suffer from this. It's and teenagers. Imagine the message this sends to teenagers. We already have like an epidemic of teenage suicide in the country. And imagine this, the adults in government are sending the message to our teenagers that, well, when the going gets rough, this is a good out. That suicide is a decent option to kind of check out when things get too hard. So even Washington, D.C.'s own health commissioner was against this, not being able to see how, the Democratic health commissioner could just see that this is not going to play out well. There's so much cost squeeze in the healthcare industry right now, and there have already been cases in places like Oregon where it's been legalized, or New York, where they say the health insurance company says, I'm sorry, we can't cover your cancer treatment, but we will cover your suicide pills, which only cost $1.50 or so.
Yeah, this assisted suicide is the bookend for the left for their program for unrestricted abortions for any reason at any time. They go after those who cannot speak to defend themselves, or those people who are so mentally anguished they can't think straight. And to open up a doorway to death really tells me what animates people on the left. Maureen, we want to pick up and continue this conversation. Would you stay with us through a short break, and we'll pick it up on the other side?
Sure, happy to.
We're coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 AM, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the country at AM 1360 in Tampa, AM 810 in Macon, Georgia, AM 1640 Lancaster, PA, Pennsylvania, Dutch Country, FM 96.3 in Boulder, Colorado, Milwaukee, Pittsburgh, Long Beach. Thanks for staying with us. If you're not hearing it in real time, but time shifted, hey, we still appreciate your listening. And if you are listening on the internet right now, go to Facebook Live. Go to Conservative Commando's Facebook page, and then go to Facebook Live, and you'll see what we really look like in the studio. Hey, Maureen Ferguson is with us. She's staying with us. You stay with us, too. We will be right back.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamanier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Manier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We, the people, never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcasts of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network, or at 11 a.m. Excuse me. Log on to Red Nation Rising Radio or midnight redstatetalkradio.com, or you could hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Kevin, and we have our first guest with us. Will you please pick up the interview?
Yeah, Maureen Ferguson is with us. She is Senior Policy Advisor for the Catholic Association, frequent speaker many places. I won't go through the long list, but thankfully, and I believe for the first time, she's here with us. Maybe she'll come back again in the future. She was talking about what a difference one election makes in terms of having people, adults, back in the White House and in the State Department who have decided to pull funding that used to go under President Obama to the United Nations Population Fund, which wasn't a fund to improve the quality of life for a population. It was to end new life before it had a chance to take a first breath. And that is specifically evil in my mind. But I'm not being interviewed. Maureen is. Maureen, thank you so much for staying with us.
I'm happy to still be chatting.
So we've seen groups in the left move over to this push for assisted suicide. You know, when someone despairs, I think every good thing in you tells you to lift them up, not push them over the edge. And it's just appalling that there is something of a normalization of an attitude that says, "Oh, you're having trouble in your life. Why don't you end it?" My God, what kind of people are we to encourage this? But luckily, I'm in a studio with people who believe that life is sacred. And Maureen, I know that you stand with the Catholic Association and not only sharing, but being a great voice to espouse those views.
You know, we need more voices in the public square, more voices than ever, because on the assisted suicide issue, as I mentioned, it's just popping up in state after state, and the other side is a very slick PR machine. Some of your listeners may remember several months ago, maybe it was even a year ago, on the cover of People magazine, there was the case of a young woman named Brittany Maynard who had a brain tumor, a fatal brain tumor, and she became the face of the assisted suicide movement. And, you know, she has a very compelling story, very heartbreaking, because she's this, you know, young, vibrant woman, but she chose to take her own life. And, you know, sadly, she cut her life short. But her case, obviously, you know, she was this lovely young woman. Her case, obviously, played well into the PR machine from the other side. They've renamed themselves. They used to be called the Hemlock Society. They've now renamed themselves Compassion and Choices. So you can see that this appeals to people who are in fear of those end-of-life days that can obviously be very heartrending, very difficult, can involve suffering. But we know that no suffering is so great that we can't handle it. And what we need to be doing is focusing on patient care, not on focusing how to end the lives of patients. I mean, doctors, of course, take the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. So it goes against, all medical ethics to be giving pills for suicide. And actually, and this is an interesting issue because it does not cut along partisan lines. On the abortion issue, the Democratic Party has moved so far left on the issue that there are almost no pro-life Democrats left, and the Republican Party has become very strong on the life issue. Assisted suicide cuts very differently. When the state of Massachusetts tried to legalize assisted suicide, Senator Ted Kennedy, who was known as the liberal lion of the Senate, he had died of this very same brain tumor, and his widow campaigned across Massachusetts against assisted suicide because of this reason. She said, we need to be focusing on patient care, not patient suicide. And I think she knew, having a heart for kind of the little guy, she knew that this is going to disproportionately affect the poor, the disabled, and the elderly, the vulnerable. So it was able to be defeated in even a very liberal state like Massachusetts.
It's a matter of getting the truth out and hopefully having a media, or at least enough of the media, to carry the truth and make it an honest debate so that good voices such as your own are not drowned out.
Yeah, well, it's, the U.S. Congress was trying to have a debate about this, but they ended up not even voting on it. They had a committee vote, but it wasn't even brought to the House floor, sadly, for a variety of reasons and calculations. The U.S. Congress couldn't even vote on it, which is, a sad commentary on the current state of affairs. But it's up to us as citizens to be educating people about this, because a lot of people don't know how far this movement has come, how many states have legalized it, all that sort of thing.
And how easy it might be in some states to be classified as a person eligible, so to speak, for this life-ending procedure.
That's right, and they found in these states that there's a lot of what's called doctor shopping. If one person's doctor doesn't, if this doctor has known this person for years, there's a good doctor-patient relationship, and the doctor doesn't want to give suicide pills, then there are kind of unethical doctors that have kind of set up shop, sort of set out a shingle, and people can find these doctors who will just prescribe the pills. So it's a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah, and the people most likely to be influenced by such suggestions to, quote-unquote, take the death pill are people, as you said, who might be on the harsher side of life, who really don't have family advocates to speak for them. And they might be very, very pliable in the hands of a government-appointed social worker, so to speak, who has a political view that includes suggesting that an American citizen should take an early exit ramp and not face tomorrow when the sun rises. It's very insidious because you have people in positions of who've established a bit of trust with someone who's going through great problems, abusing that trust in the worst possible way, encouraging them to end their life early. It's really sick. It's really sick, Maureen.
It is very, very sad, and of course it is the most vulnerable populations who will suffer. Think about people who suffer from mental illness, the depressed. And they say, oh, we'll only do it for the terminally ill. Oh, we have seen this play before, though, in Europe. That slippery slope in some of these European countries, like the Netherlands, they have slipped down that slippery slope so fast it is scary. And, with respect to this issue of, we'll only allow it for the terminally ill, many people have stories like the one I'm going to tell you. But my mother-in-law was diagnosed with a terminal illness, told she had months to live. At one point, she was sent home from the hospital. They said, she was suffering from bone cancer. There's nothing more we can do for you. They sent her home on hospice care, even took her off all the medicine. And after a couple weeks on hospice care, she actually woke up, slowly regained her strength. The next year, she took my children to Disneyland. She took her grandchildren to Disneyland the next year after being told that there was no hope. And she did eventually succumb to the cancer a few years after that. But boy, those were precious years that she would have
they were. Of course they were.
She would have absolutely missed out on. We would have missed out on those years had she not fought through and had hope. So,
well, I think we have the dividing lines for the next great social struggle to defend life, and that is to just resist this scurrilous use of assisted suicide. It's a slippery slope. We saw what happened with the abortion issue, and it's up to good people like our listeners and you, Maureen, to give a voice and show leadership. We have about 30 seconds, Maureen. Tell our listeners how to stay current with the Catholic Association and what you're up to.
Well, sure. I would invite you to follow us on Facebook. Check out our website, thecatholicAssociation.org. And we're always posting interesting articles. I have something just today, probably won't be published till tomorrow, about this very tragic church bombing and the international religious liberty issue, the Palm Sunday church bombings in Egypt. So please check out our website. And thanks so much for having me on.
Maureen Ferguson, Senior Policy Advisor for the Catholic Association. Thank you so much for being with us on the Conservative Commandos.
Great. Thanks.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos. A little bit of chaos here in the studios, but you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network at WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia and around the world on the internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM, FM 24/7, and we are doing Facebook Live. Go to Conservative Commandos Radio Show Facebook group page. Kevin and I will be right back with our next guest.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow Patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions.
We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
If your health care has become a burden and you're worried about being stuck for another year, you have options. Liberty Health Share could be the solution to your problem. Open enrollment is here and could be your chance to free yourself from insurance. Take this opportunity and join Liberty Health Share. You can finally be in control and have freedom when it comes to your health care. Liberty Health Share offers an entirely open network, which means you choose your doctors and you choose your hospitals. Liberty Health Share offers freedom from insurance, meaning no tax-related penalties. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237. Or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Kevin Wade and yours truly, Rick Trader. For rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or ccrsnetwork.com, or at 11 a.m., log on to Red Nation Rising Radio, or at midnight, log on to redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Kevin Wade, we have our next guest with us. Please make that introduction.
Before I do that, I want to thank all of our listeners who are now viewers watching us at Facebook Live. You go to the Conservative Commandos Facebook page and Facebook Live, and there you'll see us right in the studio. Thanks for being with us. Tell your friends. Our guest right now in the 435 slot is Rachel Del Giudice. She's a reporter with the Daily Signal. She's also a graduate of Franciscan University of Steubenville, the Forge Leadership Network, and the Heritage Foundation's Young Leaders Program. She has a column from late last week, 4 Lessons Conservatives Should Learn from Getting Gorsuch Through. And Rachel, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Hey, what are the 4 lessons that conservatives should learn? One, we're very happy that Neil Gorsuch is now an associate justice. He took his oath this morning.
Yes, well, the 4 lessons. The first is that numerous people that I talked to, from Kelly Oyat, who was his Sherpa and led Gorsuch through the confirmation process, to Senator Mike Lee, they all said he is an extremely qualified man. Democrats, whatever small accusations they brought up against him, he, refuted everything that they had to say with grace and with facts. So, number one, he's extremely qualified. Number 2 is the importance of transparency. One thing we all can learn is the list that President Trump announced during his candidacy, and then he kept up with that and followed up after his inauguration, really helped people see where the president was coming from, what they could expect from him, and a lot of people that I talked to credited this Gorsuch victory with that transparency. The third is conservative unity. Just see all the different groups, from Judicial Crisis Network to different organizations like National Right to Life and National Rifle Association. People were working together on messaging and on bringing Gorsuch's, basically his talent, to the light, so that people across this country and even the world could see what a talented leader and judge that he is and was. And then the fourth is well-allocated resources. People did lots of interviews with him. I talked to people that worked with the Trump administration who went on TV and radio to basically bring Gorsuch's message and his legacy from the 10th Circuit to what he'll be bringing to the Supreme Court. So those are the 4 main lessons that we're taking away from this successful confirmation process.
Do you think these 4 lessons will be applied to a second nomination that President Trump may be in a position to make sometime between now and the end of his term in office?
Yeah, that's honestly what we're hoping for. There are some reports that I saw today that there's a possibility that Justice Kennedy may be retiring possibly at the end of the year. We don't know. That's, speculation right now. But if that were to happen again, some of the people that I talked to, especially at Judicial Crisis Network and America Rising Squared, these are 2 wonderful legal conservative organizations that work to get Gorsuch confirmed. And both of them said that if President Trump keeps to his list, which, the 22 recommendations that he had on that list that he released originally, if he sticks to that, and then if conservatives, as they did, banded together to educate the public and talk about the qualifications of the nominee and research, as they did for Gorsuch, they expect and are looking for this upcoming process for whoever it is, if one of the justices were to retire, to be just as successful.
Now, Rachel, do you think that the fact that the filibuster is no longer in play at the time that how do I want to say this? The filibuster is no longer in play. It was in play at the time Neil Gorsuch was identified. It's not in play in advance of identifying President Trump's next nominee to the Supreme Court. Having the filibuster out of the picture, do you think that changes the 4 lessons in any way?
I think to an extent it helps. I think it should inspire conservatives and conservative organizations to stick to being on message and to stick to being dedicated to advancing whichever nominee comes next. But honestly, and the people that I talked to, and different people such as Senator Grassley and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, they have both said that Democrats have a double standard. They want our nominees to be confirmed with 60 votes, and they want their nominees to be confirmed with 51. It's just a double standard that they hold. And if you look up, I'd encourage your readers to look up, search Huffington Post, Tim Kaine, Supreme Court. And in October, he did an interview with the Huffington Post, and he said that Senate Democrats would change Senate rules to confirm their justice if he and Hillary Clinton would have won in November. So basically, they said that they would change the Senate rules as well, which is interesting to see, given all of the trouble and all the obstruction that Gorsuch went through to get confirmed. So honestly, I don't know that it will change these 4 lessons, and the people that I talk to, honestly, would just encourage people across the country, stay involved, stay educated, because it's important that we educate the public about people like Judge Gorsuch, who have such amazing merit that there's no reason why they should not be confirmed to the Supreme Court.
Well, Rachel, as a woman who's taken a look at this in some detail, how much do you believe the election result was influenced by candidate Trump putting forth a list of potential nominees to the American voter before the election.
Yeah, a lot of people say that was huge. And actually the people that I talked to at Judicial Crisis Network and America Rising Squared, there too, and even the Federal Society, a couple conservative legal organizations who work to uphold the Constitution, all of them said that that was key in Donald Trump's victory. And a lot of people said, in exit polling, that the Supreme Court was one of the major reasons that they came out to vote for Donald Trump. So the Supreme Court was huge in this election. People across this country want to see principled, to want to uphold the Constitution on the court. And so that was probably one of the biggest reasons why Trump won. And a lot of people credit that to, again, the list and the huge move, unprecedented really, the move of transparency that Trump had in releasing that list even before winning the election, showing people this is what I'm looking at. And, these will be the people who might be up for consideration if I win in November. That was huge for him.
Yeah, I think that was a very big part of the turnout for evangelical Christians who turned out with a strong propensity to vote. I think it was like 85% to vote for. 85% of them voted for Donald Trump versus 15% for other candidates, and. I believe, and I was speaking offline, off air with others today, I think that the confirmation of Neil Gorsuch justifies my vote. If Donald Trump doesn't do one more thing as president, his keeping his commitment to nominate from that list and put a true original list into the Supreme Court really justified my vote in November.
Exactly, and honestly, that's what it's important, and it's encouraging to see that the president is sticking to the announcements that he had on that list of 22, and I think that's what people should be watching and should be encouraged by. And honestly, for all of your listeners and viewers, be encouraged for the work that you've done to advance people like Gorsuch. I know that there are a lot of people, grassroots, spreading the word and educating others as well. So this is a great victory for the conservative movement and for supporters of the Constitution. So we can be very excited and very hopeful for the future.
Given the time that you've studied the developments behind Gorsuch's nomination and his walking through a somewhat contentious confirmation, including the removal of the filibuster, given your close proximity to the subject of Supreme Court nominees being confirmed, who would your next favorite be, Rachel, if I ask you? Who would you like to see be the second one nominated by President Trump?
Oh, I'm not sure. The list of 22, I think, are all great people. I know that Pryor, he's one of the judges on the list that I was watching and looking to see, as well as Hardiman. Those were two that I was looking at because we knew that it was going to be either Gorsuch, Pryor, or Hardiman. So I think the Pryor, Hardiman would be two excellent choices as well. And honestly, those who are on the list of 22, we're all hoping that the president sticks to that, because those are names that the public has seen. They can go back to that. They can read and look up all of those different individuals. And I think it would be helpful and just, great for an audience perspective for this whole country to be watching this unfold if one of the justices were to retire, and have that list to go back to get more familiarized with those candidates. So I think Pryor or Hardiman would also be good choices for the court.
Now, there is speculation that sometime after June, or perhaps through the end of the year, that we might see another vacancy occur. And I've also read analyses that should President Trump remain in office for 8 years, and one way to be reelected is to simply keep your word on your commitments in your initial campaign. Exactly. How many potential Supreme Court justices could he nominate within reason over an 8-year period?
Sure, within reason. I think it could be 3 or 4 to be realistic. And with that list that he put out of 2 individuals, he is a great pool to choose from, and as well with people at Judicial Crisis Network, America Rising Squared, the Federalist Society, all people who have been great voices for this and have really been able to weigh in on the process. Trump could honestly end up replacing 3 or 4, and the list of 22, I would encourage your viewers to look it up, to familiarize yourself more with those candidates, and to basically watch this as it unfolds, because we could be seeing 3 or 4 new justices to the court by the time Trump does leave office. So we're not sure what will happen, but it's definitely in the realm of possibility to say he could replace 3 or 4 more justices.
And it could be a generational turning point in the life of America if we have judges on the Supreme Court who read the law instead of write it.
Exactly. We want to see principled, constitutionalist judges who want to uphold the Constitution as our founding fathers written it. That's what a lot of people who work to have Judge Gorsuch conform, that's what they're working for as well, and that's what our country voted for when they elected Donald Trump as president.
Rachel, thank you so much. We understand that you cannot stay for the full segment, but I do want to thank you for spending some time with us and bringing your insight into the matter of lessons learned in getting Gorsuch through his nomination. We'd like to have you come back again in the future and pick up other topics of similar content.
I would love to as well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm about to go run and publish a story on the upcoming spending fight. So thank you so much for your time, and all of your wonderful listeners. Congratulate yourself on working hard for this victory, and keep fighting for freedom and constitutionalism.
Rachel Del Giudice, reporter, Daily Signal. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We're broadcasting from our studios at our flagship station, WNJC 1360 AM. In Philadelphia and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM/FM 24/7, theallendon.com. I'm Kevin Wade, as always, sharing the microphone with Rick Trader and also with our many viewers on Facebook Live. So stay with us, and we're going to do a wrap-up on the other side of this break.
I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show is the commander of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. We've established a front line of conservative leaders and ironclad patriots to revive the promise of America.
There must be some kind of way out of here.
We patriots have succeeded in securing the next 4 years of American prosperity, sovereignty, and liberty under President Donald Trump. But the fight is never over, and we must be forever vigilant.
Businessman there, drink my wine.
Do you have a passion for American values? Do you believe in preserving the American dream? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, Monday through Saturday from 12 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 AM, or around the world on the Internet at ccrshow.com and ccrsnetwork.com. Check out our websites for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty HealthShare as a sponsor. Liberty HealthShare is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty HealthShare exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty HealthShare. Liberty HealthShare is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty HealthShare. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty HealthShare today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.
This is Pastor Christina Lamb-Manier, chaplain for the Indiana Republican Assembly.
And I'm her husband, J.D. Manier. We won the election, but we must now install President Trump's nominees. We urge you to call the Capitol Switchboard at 202-225-3121 and ask your senators to do their job. They need to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch and remaining cabinet members.
We, the people, never want to see another Berkeley. The First Amendment doesn't give you the right to commit acts of violence. It pains us to watch anarchy unfold on college campuses, bus stops, and coffee shops. Thomas Jefferson said, "All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent." Let us join in unity to pray for America. Once again, the number to call is 202-225-3121.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Kevin Wade. I'm Rick Trader, and we're coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. For rebroadcast, please always check out our web pages, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network, or at 11 a.m. you can log on to Red Nation Rising Radio, midnight, redstatetalkradio.com, or you can hear our show any time of the day from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. You don't need an app. You don't need to download anything. You just need a telephone. And this number, 832-999-1199. Kevin Wade.
Yes, sir.
What's going on Drudge?
Drudge is, as you know, Drudge doesn't write any articles. They do a few times a year. A few times a year, Matt Drudge will actually author an article. But what they do is brilliant in that they simply collect headlines from around the country and from around the world. And these are headlines that you won't see in the Washington Post, New York Times, LA Times, for the most part. These are stories that are actually important in small-town America, small-city America, and there tends to be a theme. A theme could be, sex crimes. The themes can be human smuggling. The themes can be broken borders. It can be disillusioned blue-collar workers. And when you see a theme like that pop up in 5 different states over a 1-month period, there's something cooking under the surface that the mainstream media is not talking about, and that gets captured by Drudge. So Drudge was, I'd say they were actually pretty much of a booster for Donald Trump during the campaign, but they've stepped back a little bit now, and that's probably good. I like a press that challenges people in authority. I support Donald Trump, our 45th president, but if he can't defend himself from the questioning of a legitimate press, okay, then he's got to do some work. I'm not talking about the unfair criticism from the Washington Post. I'm talking about some fair questions that'll come up from some of the local newspapers that are taking a look at his policies. So, I like Drudge. And I'm not the only one. It's one of the most followed news websites in the world. They get, billions of hits every month.
Anything up there today that's catching your eye?
Well, yeah, we have America's Pacific Fleet steaming toward Korea.
That's interesting.
And Donald Trump isn't one to. Syria, right? Last week, that was 2 destroyers. You understand? That was 2 destroyers. What they used to call tin cans, very small boats. 2 destroyers. There's a fleet. There's a fleet moving toward the Northwest Pacific. We'll call it North Korea. So I believe something is about to happen.
Could it possibly...
Externally or internally?
Kevin, during the administration of Teddy Roosevelt, he sent the Great White Fleet around the world.
One of my favorite stories.
That was just a show of power. You think this is just a show of power, or are these guys on a mission?
If the power shows so successfully, you don't have to take the next step. You've accomplished the mission. But a favorite story about what's called the Great White Fleet. America was coming into its own as a world power. Our economy had grown so rapidly through the 1800s. We were on the world stage, and Teddy Roosevelt wanted the world to notice. So to not threaten other powers around the world, he had our battleships, our naval ships, painted white, the sign of peace. And he ordered them to go on a round-the-world goodwill cruise. Congress said, as Congress always says, we can't afford this. We're not going to pay for We're not going to pay for all the coal to send the Navy around the world. He said, well, we have enough to get them halfway around. You can decide to fund to get them all the way back home. Teddy Roosevelt.
What a guy.
What a guy. And he serves as something of an example. He was a little bit too progressive in some ways, but he truly believed in this country, and he had tremendous support from the voters in this country. He captured that spirit of America, which I think Donald Trump does in many ways as well.
Kevin, it's time for you to take us home.
Thanks for listening. Hey, thanks for watching on Facebook Live. We're going to do that again. I know we're going to do it again next week on April 17th, Tax Day. Thanks for being with us. God bless each and every one of you, and may God save the United States of America.
1360 AM. WNJC. Washington Township, Philadelphia.
Hi, I'm Kevin Wade. Conservative Commandos is happy to welcome Liberty Health Share as a sponsor. Liberty Health Share is a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. Liberty Health Share exists for everyone who purchases health care for themselves or their family, or who wants to control their own health care. I run a small business, and we were caught in the confusion of Washington's ever-changing health insurance requirements. We found a common-sense solution in Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is not insurance. It simply unites like-minded Americans to share medical costs together. Join a community of health-conscious Americans who practice long-standing Christian principles in sharing health care costs. That's Liberty Health Share. To find out how you can easily make the change, call Liberty Health Share today at 855-585-4237. That's 855-585-4237, or visit their website at libertyhealthshare.org.